flipping on your radio in the 1960s and being told you couldn't hear the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, or even the Beach Boys. Why? Not because the songs were bad, not because people didn't love them, but because some guy in a suit decided they were too dangerous, too political, or get this, too suggestive. Do you remember hearing a song one day and it just disappeared from the airwaves the next? Ever wonder what happened behind the scenes of your favorite tracks? Well, buckle up. Today we're diving into 10 songs that were actually banned from the radio in the 1960s for reasons that might just make you laugh, cringe, or shake your head in disbelief. Number 10. Charlie Brown, By the Coasters, 1959.
Charlie Brown, he's a clown.
Okay, technically this one hit just before the 60s started, but it's too bizarre to ignore. The BBC banned this catchy tune because of the word spitball. Yup,
Who's always throwing spitballs? Guess who?
that innocent little word used in schoolyard tomfoolery was labeled disgusting and delinquent. The song itself, a playful anthem about a class clown causing mischief in school.
Just you wait and see.
Why is everybody always picking on me?
It was funny, harmless, and catchy as heck, but British censors felt spitball implied juvenile delinquency, like that one word was going to turn the youth into wild hoodlums.
Cool and slow. Who calls the English? Teach your daddy up.
Never mind the fact that kids were probably already launching spitballs before the song dropped. Strength. It's a brilliant snapshot of teenage rebellion wrapped in rhythm and blues. Why it was banned? The establishment took things a little too literally. A word meant to be playful was suddenly threatening public decency. 9. Mac the Knife by Bobby Darin, 1959.
Could that someone be Mac the Knife?
Another pre-60s track that carried its controversy well into the next decade. Mac the Knife is a jazzy, upbeat cover about, well, a murderer. Let's not sugarcoat it. The lyrics are straight from a German play, The Threepenny Opera, and they describe a charming criminal with a violent streak. Bobby Darin's smooth voice turned it into a pop sensation, but some stations weren't having
Oh,
it.
that cement is for just for the weight there.
Too graphic, too violent, too cheerful for a song about stabbings. Strength, musically clever, theatrical, and performed with undeniable swagger. Criticism. It glamorized crime a little too easily for the censors' taste. Even if it was just theater, some listeners weren't ready for a killer with jazz hands. 8. Gloria by Them, 1964. Let's move into real-deal 60s territory. Gloria was a garage rock anthem, raw, gritty, and teenage to the core. Van Morrison, before he went solo, spelled out Gloria with a kind of pulsing electricity that made kids want to shout along. But the lyrics? Oh boy. Comes around here just about midnight. Yeah, that line didn't sit well with the older crowd.
What's coming around here? Till about midnight.
It painted a picture of late-night visits and unchaperoned meetings, the kind of stuff that makes 1960s radio bosses sweat. Strength, a timeless rock riff and one of the most influential tracks of the early garage scene. Why banned? It was the suggestion that got it canned. Nothing explicit, but just enough to let your imagination wander, and apparently that was enough for the red pen. 7. God Only Knows by the Beach Boys, 1966.
God only knows what I'd be without you.
Can a song be too beautiful for radio? Turns out, yes, God Only Knows was groundbreaking. Lush harmonies, emotional depth, and spiritual overtones. But one problem, it dared to say God in a secular pop song.
God only knows what I'd be without you.
Some religious groups and broadcasters felt it was blasphemous to mix the divine with something as trivial as romance. It didn't matter that the song was sincere and respectful, it broke an unspoken rule. Strength, an artistic high point in pop history and arguably the Beach Boys' most sophisticated track. Criticism. At the time, it poked a hole in cultural boundaries. Today, it's hard to imagine anyone finding it offensive, but in '66, too risky for primetime. Or 6. Let's Spend the Night Together by the Rolling Stones, 1967.
Let's spend the night together. Now I need you more than
We all knew this one would make the list. This wasn't a song, it was a statement. A very suggestive statement. Let's Spend the Night Together didn't hide its message. It was bold, it was cheeky, and it had that unmistakable Stones swagger. When they performed it on The Ed Sullivan Show, they were forced to change the lyrics to "Let's spend some time together." And Mick Jagger, he rolled his eyes at the camera so hard it became legend. Strength, confident, energetic, and part of the British invasion's push against American prudishness. Why banned? The title alone was enough to shut it down in many cities. In an age when public displays of affection barely got past a handshake, this was rock and roll heresy. Omod 5, Brown-Eyed Girl by Van Morrison, 1967.
A brown-eyed girl.
Van's back, and this time it's personal.
You, my brown-eyed girl.
Brown-Eyed Girl is sweet, nostalgic, and just a little naughty. The line "making love in the green grass" caused several stations to play a censored version.
Making love in the green grass behind the stadium.
Yup, they swapped it for a line from an earlier verse. Problem solved. Sort of. Strength, a feel-good anthem that still plays at weddings and backyard BBQs to this day. Criticism, it hinted at premarital intimacy, and in 1967, that was enough to push it into radio purgatory. Can you imagine how many DJs squirmed every time they hit play? Down 4, I Am the Walrus by the Beatles, 1967. Now we're getting weird, psychedelic weird. I Am the Walrus was John Lennon's acid trip masterpiece. Bizarre lyrics, orchestral chaos, and the phrase, "let your knickers down."
Pornographic priestess, boy, you've been a naughty girl, you let your knickers down.
That one line had stations pulling the plug, fearing it was too racy. Never mind the rest of the lyrics made absolutely no sense. Censors found the one phrase they could understand and slammed the brakes. Strength, musically experimental, lyrically iconic, and endlessly debated. Why banned? British slang plus Beatles fame equaled a censorship panic. And honestly, Lennon was probably thrilled. Number 3, Street Fighting Man by the Rolling Stones, the 1968. This one hit hard, right in the middle of global student protests, political assassinations, and civil rights clashes. Street Fighting Man didn't call for violence, but it reflected the chaos. And that was enough. Some U.S. radio stations straight up refused to play it, fearing it would incite riots or anti-government action. The message was seen as dangerous, even though it mostly asked questions, not gave orders. Strength, a gritty protest song that captured the revolutionary spirit of the time. Criticism, in a year when every word carried weight, the Stones' timing was a little too perfect. Even if they weren't trying to start a fight, the authorities thought they were. Number 2, Eve of Destruction by Barry Maguire, 1965. The most blunt protest song of the decade. Eve of Destruction was a raw, pessimistic commentary on everything. Vietnam, civil rights, nuclear war, the generation gap. It was scathing, angry, and honest. And for some, that was terrifying. It was banned by numerous stations, pulled from playlists, and even criticized by fellow musicians who thought it was too negative. One senator called it an aid to the enemy.
You may leave here for 4 days in space, but when you return...
Oof. Strength, unfiltered truth-telling that resonated with a disillusioned youth. Criticism, it painted the world in stark black and white, and not everyone was ready for that kind of honesty at 9 a.m. drive time. Number 1, Louie by The Kingsmen, 1963. And here it is, the most famously banned song of the 1960s, maybe ever. Louie is a garage rock classic, a messy, mumbled party anthem with barely comprehensible lyrics. So naturally, people assumed it must be dirty. Rumors flew, high schools banned it, parents freaked out, and get this, the FBI actually launched a full investigation into whether the lyrics were obscene. What did they find? Absolutely nothing. The lyrics were garbled but innocent. Still, the song got banned by stations across America, just in case. Strength, raw, rebellious, and catchy beyond belief. Why banned? Not because of what it said, but because of what people thought it said. A perfect example of 1960s paranoia in action. Still with us? Which of these bands caught you off guard? Got a favorite, forbidden song of your own? Drop it in the comments. We love hearing your musical memories. And hey, if you're enjoying this deep dive into 1960s controversy, hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next trip down memory lane. You never know what forgotten story we'll uncover next. South. Why were all these songs banned? It wasn't just about the words, it was about control. The 1960s were a time of massive cultural upheaval. Young people were questioning everything: war, religion, authority, sexuality, race, and music became their megaphone. Radio stations, often owned by conservative organizations or pressured by government groups, became the front line for silencing anything too radical. Here's what was really going on behind the bans. Moral panic, sex, drugs, and rock and roll scared the older generation. They feared society was crumbling. Political fear, anything anti-war or anti-government was viewed as subversive, sometimes even treasonous. Religious sensitivity, mentioning God or challenging traditional values was seen as dangerous. Public image. Stations didn't want angry calls from parents or church groups, so they preemptively pulled songs. Ironically, banning a song often made it more popular. Kids would trade tapes, blast it at parties, or request it even harder. What was meant to suppress only fueled rebellion. Today, most of these tracks are considered classics. Many of them are played on radio without a second thought. And looking back, it's kind of incredible what passed for controversial. But the real lesson here? Music has always been more than just entertainment. It reflects who we are, what we fear, and what we hope for. These banned songs from the 60s weren't just catchy tunes. They were statements. Some subtle, some loud, but all powerful. So the next time you hear Louie Louie or Eve of Destruction, remember, that beat once scared the system. That melody once got a teenager grounded. And that lyric? That lyric once sparked a movement. Thanks for watching. Keep your ears open, your record spinning, and your mind just rebellious enough.